Okay, you're welcome once again to this class. As I just mentioned, that we shall see how we can be able to sort out the Matlab problem. You'll be able to get a copy and then be able to install. But for now, as I said, let's get Octave. We shall be using that this week, and then we can be able to see how we can sort out the subsequent weeks with Matlab. Because we want to get familiar with Matlab and use Matlab. Okay, so we're going to look at the programming environment, and this majorly for Matlab. So the purpose of our lecture today is that by the end of this session, you should be able to create and execute a simple program in Matlab. But I said that we cannot use Matlab today, so we'll be using Octave to do that. Then we shall be able to understand the difference between constants, variables, and expressions. We shall be able to know how to use the assignment statement and know how to perform simple manipulation for a one-dimension array, which we know as vectors. So the first thing we need to get familiar with is the Matlab window. And in the Matlab window, we have the command window. This is the main window where you type your commands directly to Matlab interpreter. I'll be showing you that shortly. And we have the Matlab editor window. This is a simple text editor where you can load, you are able to edit and also save your complete Matlab programs. That's called the editor window. Okay, the editor window also has a menu command which can help you to debug your program for errors and see if it is running properly, but also to run your program. So it will allow you to submit the program to the command window. That's the editor window. So you also have the help window, which gives you access to the great deal of useful information about Matlab language and, of course, the computing environment that Matlab provides. It also has a number of example programs and tutorials. So once your Matlab is installed, those are the key windows that you'll be able to work around with. Okay, so this will be the window for Matlab. We have the help window. The help window is from the help menu. You can be able to get that. But this is the command window. That means you can type your commands just here directly to Matlab and you can be able to access that. Okay, so we have, I said that this is the command window. This is the help. You can choose the layout that you would want. That's the desktop layout. You choose it from the desktop, the layout you would want your window to be displayed in. You can set a search path from the file menu, and then this is where your M files are stored and you can easily edit the M files. So, and this also is the current folder that you're working in. So you have to make sure that the folder that is displayed here is actually this folder that you're currently working in, where your files in Matlab are, or the ones that are going to work in Octave will be stored. Okay. Then you have down here, this is where you view details about the selected file. So if you click on a file here, then the details will be displayed down here and be able to see that in Matlab. Then you can be able to have a command window here. I talked about that. You can navigate the desired folder here. You just select the folder you want to go through here, and then you can minimize, resize, and close using these buttons here. Okay, so down here is for you to have your workspace. Your workspace is here for you to be able to edit your array here. And then of course down here is your command history. Every command that you work on is stored here. Okay. Okay, this will be the editor, Matlab editor, where you can write your Matlab file here and then be able to run. Then back and run. So there are several ways of you getting help. The first one is we're using the help menu item on your Matlab desktop, which will open up a searchable help browser, and then you can be able to search. Okay, but secondly, you just need to type the command help desk. It will open up the help browser. Okay, for instance, you can just say help, then the topic you want to work on or to read about, and then we'll be able to get you the details. Okay, so whenever we are writing comments, it is important for you to know that when you're programming in Matlab, you can describe what that part of your program is doing. You use comments, and we define comments using the percentage sign. Okay, the percentage sign will help you to write a comment, and that means that is not interpreted. So Matlab will not interpret that after this command here, um, this Matlab command. So that will tell us that we'll be able to get, for instance, if I want to write a program that maybe can determine a wavelength of maybe a signal, then I just need to first describe so that if somebody reads my code, is able to understand what I'm literally doing. Okay, so I can be able to put that using the comment. I put that in a comment, but the comments are started with the percentage sign. So these are different commands as we'll be able to look at. Maybe let me just demonstrate that. I'm going to first of all go to my Octave. I hope you can be able to see my window. Matlab window is not much different from the Octave window. So I have my window here. This is where your files are displayed, the folder you're working in. So you need to select your folder here. Okay, and then this is your workspace where you have the workspace displayed. Your command history, every command that you run will be displayed here, and this is the command window. Okay, but still you can have the editing and you edit directly. So down here I have the command window, I have the editor window. So you can write your Matlab files directly here and run them. Then you have the variable editor. You can edit your variables that you have set here. Okay, and then you have the documentation. If you want to learn more about Octave, you just got the documentation. Okay, so it's not much, the window is not much different from Matlab. Okay, so what I wanted us to look at is how to use the help command. So I said that here I just need to type help, but when I type enter, it will just give me details about the help command. So they will give me a details here and tell me for help with individual commands and functions, type help and then the name of the function or the name of the command that you want to read about. Then they can be able to explain to you here, replace name with the command with the name of the command or function you would like to learn more about. An operator can close in quotes. Okay, so they can give you, say, for more information about that, then you can be able to go to this. So let me first clear. When we are clearing the window, we use CLC. CLC is our command that clears a window here. So whenever I type a command, you realize that that command is added to the command history. So I put help, and also now I've just typed CLC. Okay. Okay, so what I would want is to maybe if I looked at one command here, probably I would want to know more about the word syntax in Matlab. Okay, so I just come here and I say help the command, and I put syntax. Okay, so in Octave we cannot find that command because Octave is limited with the functionalities, so it's missing most of the commands. That's why we want to put to use Matlab. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is for me to create my own folder, so I can browse folder that I want to work with. I would want to work with I would want to work with this folder, and I'm going to create another folder here called 2021. So in 2021 is where I would want to put all my files for Matlab. So when I select that, that will be shown here. You should be having that here. So that means my my folder that I'm currently working in is this from this path here. Okay, so it will be displayed here, and then everything I'll do, every file I write will be saved here, will be saved there. So we'll be getting that a little more as we progress. Okay, so you try out those examples, and then of course the comments. Let's look at a first example. When we're looking at the command, we have a command to display, but we have the arguments, and then you you put a semicolon. The semicolon is for termination. This command here displays the value of the argument. This can be a number or a string in a single quote or an expression. For example, for simple numbers, the arithmetic operators we have is plus, minus, multiplication, division, and maybe raising to power. So if I would want to display this, I would want 2 times 3 plus 1, which will be something like 7, if I'm not mistaken, because it will first work on the multiplication before it comes to addition. Okay, so this function here, if I run that on here and I say display, and I say display, I'm having a display command, and I'm having 2 times 3 plus 1. So now I press enter, it will give me the value. The value is 7. So that means it can help me to display the value after computing this. Okay, so the display function will help you to display information that you have placed as an argument in that function. For instance, I want to welcome you to this class, Computing for Engineers. So I just need to say this. Let's say welcome to Computing for Engineers. So I close that, and then I terminate. The semicolon is a termination, is known as the termination in programming. So when I press enter, it will display that for me here. Okay, welcome to Computing for Engineers. Okay, so these functions that are inbuilt that you can be able to use while you're working with Matlab. Okay, so if you try these programs out on the command line, then you practice using the editor to enter the commands, saving them to a file, and load the file and run the program from inside the editor. I don't know whether by now you have completed downloading, because I would want us to move together on this.
Yes, for me, I've completed. However, do you mind repeating on how to clear up the window, how to clean the window, the CMC?
Have you been able to do that?
No, but I downloaded, I've been able to do the disk, but then I failed to clean up the window.
Okay. Okay, let me come it again. Okay, do you see my window?
Yes, I can see it.
Okay, let me find out how. Oh, sorry, there are others who have been waiting. Sorry for that. Okay. Um, All right, someone missed out. And Aiden has finished downloading but not learn how to use program. Okay. Uh, and then Nobo, you have not yet downloaded. So if you have not yet downloaded, please just write the comment, because I would want all of us to progress on the same pace. Okay, so Aiden downloaded Matlab. Were you able to install, Aiden? Were you able to install your Matlab?
So I Matlab.
You installed it? Are you able to start your Matlab, Aiden? Okay, some others are still downloading Matlab. Cynthia, which one exactly are we using? Because there are many options. Any option that you want to install will be okay, but you can get the latest. Is 2021, but also there are student options. Student option is for specifically students, and when you're purchasing, it is cheaper than any other option. It is the cheapest option for you to buy. But if you're going to development and in industrial application development, then you can do standard and many others. Okay, so if you're to purchase, then you get student. But because I was looking out if you can get a cracked one, which any one of us can be able to get for those who are not able to purchase. So that's what I'm trying to work around. So for now, we are using Octave. For now, we are using Octave as we get a copy for Matlab. Okay, I hope that is clear. Okay, so I hope it is Octave does not take too long to download unless your network is very poor. You should be ready with it by now. So I will have this window. I hope you're all there. So I said you can be able to set your project here. So you come here. For me, I'd already set mine, so I will go to where I set mine on C. And then I have this folder. I I have a folder I call Computing for Engineers. I call it 2021. So I select the folder. So that folder will be displayed here. That's where my files will be writing. But also down here, every command you run will be displayed here. Every command you run will be displayed here. So in the command window here, if you have this window here, I hope you can be able to see my screen properly. There are two greater than signs, and then my cursor is blinking there. So there I'll type CLC. CLC is a command that clears the command line screen. Okay, so when I press enter, it will clear up my screen. But still that command will be shown here in my command history. You will have it displayed here. Okay. Okay, so we are trying out examples earlier, and we said we can be able to get help using the help command. You can use purely a command line to do something, but you may be limited in how you can run programs here. But we shall be learning how to use the editor a little later. So for now, we are learning how to use the command line, and we are saying that for you to run a command, type the command or the function, and then be able to press enter. Then your command will be able to run and display what you want to display. Okay, someone wants to be admitted to the meeting. So I would want to, first of all, to run a command. If we went back a little, we said that we can have help. How do we get help? There are two ways. You can just use the help menu item. Okay, that means I just go to either Matlab or Octave. For now, I have Octave. I click on that and I select documentation. I can be able to get details on this. So you go online, and then you can go to online and then get you details on that. So after doing that, then the next thing you need to do is for you to type a command the second way. The second way, you can type your command, say help desk. Okay, so if I type a command help desk here, help desk command, that command is not yet implemented in Octave, but if you run that command in your Matlab, this command will have to run, and then it gives you details on the help desk to open up the help browser and be able to go through what you would want to go through. But let's also try out maybe help log 10. So I can just type again help log 10. When I press enter, it will give me details on log 10, and it will say log 10 is a built-in function from the file libin tab, which is found here, and it's log 10 maybe of x will compute the base 10 logarithm of each of the element of 10. of x. So you can also tell you see also log2, log space, exponential, and then give you details about that function that you have asked about. Okay, so I hope that's good to move forward. So you can try to get a doc. For instance, you want details about a plot. So there you can use a command called doc. So let me just type doc plot. Okay, so that command there will give you a lot of list of commands. You can realize that I have index of commands here, functions that I'm working with. You can plot y, you can plot x and y, you can plot x, y, and then the function. You can have different way of to do the plot. And then this kind of function will produce for you a two-dimension plot. But sometimes if you want a three-dimension, then you go to plot 3. Okay? So you need to learn about commands using the help command. And there are many commands for you to learn about in Matlab. I say that this is very important for engineers because whatever you're going to do, maybe you're setting up your project, or maybe building a house or whatever you want to do, then Matlab will be able to help you set what you want to set. Okay. All right. So having that in perspective now, then we can be able to progress. And what we're progressing to is so if you're looking for something, then you can be able to use a command called look for, and then be able to give you what you want to look for. Okay. But we're talking about previously about other commands like the display command. So the display command will help you to display information on the screen. For instance, if we had we wanted to display 2 times 3 plus 1, you just you come back to the command window. Let me just clear again my screen, and I'll just type this function. So inside this function, those are parentheses that are making it a function. I'll have 2 times 3 plus 1. Definitely that should give you 7 on your screen. So when I press enter on my keyboard, it will produce for me 7. Okay, so the display function can help you to display information. You can use it for displaying information on the screen, and we shall be using that little more as we develop more complex programs. If I wanted to display a word, maybe welcoming you to this course, I would just put quotes and say welcome to computing for engineers. then I terminate. So when I do that and I press enter, that will be displayed on the screen. Okay, someone is in the waiting room. Okay, I hope we are on the same page. On the same page. I wouldn't want anybody to be left behind. But I'll give you the notes. You also go through the notes, and they'll be very helpful for you. All right. So
Excuse me, sir.
yes,
Is it a must to terminate at the end of your code?
it is not that must, but it's a good programming practice to do so. Especially in Matlab, it's not a must. You may not terminate, and it will not disturb. Okay,
Okay.
but in
Yeah.
some others, it may cause
Excuse me, sir.
a problem. That okay? That's Jeremiah that was asking.
Yes, sir. It's
Okay,
okay now.
all right. Any other question?
Excuse me.
Okay, so someone has a question. Aiden,
Excuse me, sir.
you have a question? Okay,
No. What does he mean by terminate?
to terminate is like to end that line.
Yes, what do you mean by terminate?
I'm saying the word terminate in English means to end. So that means you stop that line. And we shall be learning
Yes.
a little more. Why do we need to terminate? Okay? When you terminate, you're stopping a line. You're saying that this line stops here. We shall be writing many lines in a program when we come to the editor window. Then we'll need to learn how to stop that. This line stops here, this one stops here, this stops here. It's like if you're traveling to Kampala and you find a stop, maybe you're driving and you find a stop sign, you have to stop. But sometimes people don't want to stop, they just continue.
Okay.
Yes.
But what did he mean by terminate after entering the command?
Okay, that's what I'm explaining. Aiden, I'm saying that if I type this command, say this may be test and close, I may not put a termination there and it will run okay. But it is always good programming practice for you to terminate. As I was explaining that even on the road, as you're moving in a car, there are always signs, but sometimes they are violated. So for you, if you don't terminate, you will be violating the basic rules of programming. Okay, and in some instances, it will cause you errors. It will cause you errors in some instances where some programs require you to terminate. But in those that they don't need to terminate, you can just proceed. Okay, so that's why someone asked, is it necessary? I said, sometimes in the Matlab it may not be very important. But if you're programming, it is always good practice for you to terminate, to stop that line. That when you run this line, after running it successfully, stop it. Okay, but even if you have not put there, the line will successfully run, and that will be okay. I hope I'm a little clear there.
Sir,
Yes,
is it a semicolon? I don't know if I can see well.
it's a semicolon.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a semicolon. We shall also understand when to use a semicolon and when to use a full colon, because also the full colon we shall use it. But a semicolon in programming is called a termination command. Okay. All right. So let's look at variables and assigning variables. When we talk about a variable, we are talking about a named location in memory or a place in memory where numbers, strings, and other elements of data may be stored while the program is working. So variables change, okay? The values in that variable can change. So when talking about a variable, we are talking about a named location in memory. Remember that everything that you do is stored in a computer memory, in RAM, until you save and it is added to your hard disk. But if you don't save, it will be temporarily in your RAM and it will be getting a location there where it is found. So variable names are combinations of letters and digits, but they must start with a letter. Okay? Must start with a letter. You don't start a variable name with a digit. We are going to demonstrate that. Matlab does not require you to declare names of variables in advance of their use. It may not require you. Matlab may not require you to do that. This is actually a common cause of error since it allows you to refer accidentally to variables that don't exist. So you can have errors because you're referring to a variable that doesn't exist at all. But for you to be able to assign a variable, a value, you use the assignment statement. It takes the form of a variable with the equal sign, which we are now calling an assignment operator, because for us to say equal, this variable is assigned a value of the expression. For example, we can say A is assigned a value of 6. This does not mean that A is equal to 6, as much as 6 is now stored in A. So this statement says 6 is stored in A. Or here we can say Mark is stored in name. So on the left we have the variable, on the right we have the expression or the value that we want to put to that. So for us to be able to display the content of a variable, we use the display function. Use the display function. Here are our examples of how we look at variables. I said variables require no special declaration of type or of any storage. For instance, you can say X is assigned value 3.
Sir,
Yes, please.
sir,
Yes, I hear you. Someone asked
To
something?
take you back to the previous
Sir.
screen, the previous
Yes.
slide.
Yes.
First go back. First go.
This screen here, right?
Yeah, go back to the previous slide where we were. The one you just removed.
This one. Or this one. This one? Or that one?
The previous one.
The one of variables and assignment? Or the
This
one
one.
of first program? Yes.
Yeah, this one.
Okay.
One of variables and assignments.
Yes.
Before you display the variable,
Yes, you're breaking. I don't hear you clearly.
you're supposed to first assign.
Before you display the variable, you need to first assign it a value. So the variable we said is the name of the location. So you give a variable a name. For instance, let me first demonstrate that.
Yeah.
We have a variable a, and we are giving it a value 6. And we say that a variable starts with a letter. And it can be a combination of letters and digits, but you can't start with a digit. Just let's try that on here. If we said x is our variable, then when you're assigning a value, you can say x is assigned a value 7. So when you press enter, it will give you the value that x has a value 7. But I can't say 1x is assigned a value 7. That will be an error. It will tell you this syntax problem and to point where the problem is. It's a pass error where the syntax is known, where 1 cannot start because 1 is a digit. Okay, but I can have x1 being assigned 7, and that is okay. So when you're working with the variables, you start with the letter. You don't start with the digit. Okay, and then for you to be able to display the value there, then you should first assign the value. That's what we're saying here. For instance, if we had a variable mark, if we have a variable name, we assign it a value, say mark. So when I press enter, it will have that value, but I can be able to display name. Name is our variable. When I press enter, it will display mark. Okay, so that's what we're talking about. But also here in your workspace, you'll be having the variable telling you that it's character names and the dimension is 1 by 4. That means that variable has 4 characters, and then the double, and then of course times 1 double. It gives you the details here and the attributes. Okay, is that clear? Can we progress?
Yeah, it's okay.
Okay. Okay, so I was talking about the different
Yes,
aspects.
sir.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have a question, or we can continue?
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
So if I have like very many names, so how will I just each thing, or I just put like mark comma and I put another name, then it displays them.
Okay, so that is I'm asking is Andrew. Okay, Andrew says is asking a question. If we have many names, and how will we display them? How will we display them? If we have X, Y, Z, these are all being our variable names. How will we display them? Shall we use a comma? I will let you know and to understand that in a moment. Okay, that will be easier if you're working with the editor. The command window may not give you a good use of that, but in the editor you are able to write your program and run it at once. But you realize here we are writing something and then we run it. We run something and run because we're working on the window. But when we come to the editor, we can be able to write a program of about 100, 1,000 lines and run it at once. And then you're able to have it. Okay, so we say that a variable requires no special declarations of a type or storage. An example, x is 3, but this one has not been declared that whether this is an integer or it is a float or whatever. Okay, so it will give you ability to have special types. You need to work out that a little later. Okay, so then we have a vector of length 3, y. Can say y is given a value of this, and then z is given a value of that. That means this one here they are going to display on the same line, and this one here is they are going to display horizontally. Let's demonstrate that and see. If we have x, let me clear again the screen. If I say x is given a value of a vector having maybe 3, 6, and 9. So when I press enter, that will be my solution. Our vector will be running on the same line, 3, 6, 9. What about if I got the same and I used the semicolon? That's why I was telling you that it's important to terminate something. So when I put a semicolon here and a semicolon here, if I run this, it's going to run vertical. You see that? That means 3, 6. So wherever you find a semicolon, it is telling the compiler, after this, please go to the next line. After this, go to the next line. That's why whenever we are running a program, we should instruct the compiler the cursor to go to the next line. That's why I was explaining earlier that it is important to terminate. Okay, so now this is a different array or a different vector, and this is also now a different vector. Okay, each one of them with a certain dimension, 1 by 3 dimension, or a 1-dimension array or vector. Okay, so you can also have a 2 by 3 matrix, and that means you can have like 1, 2, 3 semicolon 1, 4, 5, 6. Then you end that. That means that this is going to be a 2 by 3 vector.
Excuse me,
Yes, please.
Mister. Must there be a space between the variable name and the equal sign? Is there a law around the spacing there? Because some I'm getting syntax errors.
Okay. You're saying that, for instance, if I said y
Uh-huh.
and then the equal sign, it may not
Yes. So
need.
should there be?
It is only good programming practice for you to put the equal sign, but you don't need to
Okay.
have. Let me say, you don't need to have the equal sign. It is just to make your work a little clear. But
Okay,
for
but should
instance,
there be space between y and the equal sign? Is that space necessary?
no, you don't need to have a space there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And then I say 4, 5, 6, terminate that, and then I run. Okay. Okay, so you can see that CLC, when we have a two-dimension array, say y is given a value of a vector 1, 2, 3. I terminate. I can also put 4, 5, and 6 in my list. When I press enter, it will be able to give me a result. So I have a three-dimension array. Okay, so it will just display that for me. 1, 2, 3. Then the next line, because we put a termination in between 3 and 4, so it will just take the 4 to the next line and display that. So it is important for you to understand that as you write in your programs. Okay, so you can be able to find out and test out the other examples as you would want them to be. So the functions class and size tell you the type and the dimension of the defined object. For instance, if you say class of C and the size of C, so class of C will have to tell us the type, and then size of C will tell us the dimension. Let's just use our example that we have just used. When I say class of Y and I press enter, it will tell me that it has been taken as a double. Okay, it is taken as a double. And when I say size of Y, it will be a 2 by 3. It's a 2 by 3 dimension. That means I have a 2 by 3. 2 by 3. Okay. That means that will be 6. So I can have a 3 by 3 if I say that, and then I add something more, maybe 7, 8, and 9. I press enter, then I say size size of y, that will be 3 by 3 vector or 3 by 3 array. That means to hold 9 elements. Okay, that form. Okay, so you try out those examples in your time. So what are your variables? How to clear them and use workspace window or the commands. So you can be able to know what are your variables using the who command. So the who command will give you the variables that you have, and then the whos will be able to tell you the details about your variables, their name, their size, their byte, their class, and then their attributes. Then clear all will clear all your variables from memory. Of course, CLC, I told you it clears your window, and then close all will close all open figures. Okay, so what you need to do, let's just try to use this who, whose, and clear all. So if I have, let me just clear the screen again, and then I just say whose, who. When I say who, it will tell me there is name, okay, there is x, x1, and y. Those are the variables that I have in my scope now. So when I say whose, then it will come up and get the attribute name or the variable name, and then the size they are holding, the byte, and the class. So I have, first of all, ans, which is 1 by 2. Then the name is 1 by 4, x, and then I have y, okay, which is 3 by 3. And it is, the byte is 72, it is a double. Okay, so in total, I have 19 elements that are using 128 bytes. So it is able to tell you how much memory are you using, and if your program is taking a lot of memory, then you are able to learn and know that it is consuming a lot of RAM of your computer. Okay, so you can of course be able to clear. So if I say clear all, so all in your workspace will be cleared. So you don't have anything there in your workspace. And then of course you can be able to close and many others. Okay, so for you to be able to learn the other operating system commands, these commands here will help you to learn a lot more about the operating system. If you're using Windows, when you put path, they will display such path. This path tool modifies such path, and then add path in the directory to add directory to the path. And then if this one is for changing directory, this is for creating working directory. Dir is list all files in the current directory. What list Matlab files only. Which file displays the location of that file. Edit file will invoke Matlab editor to edit the file. Quit will quit MATLAB, and exit will exit MATLAB. So you just need to work out those. We have inbuilt Okay, so we have some built-in math constants that should not, though they can, be redefined as variables. It is important for you to know these built-in math constants that you should not redefine them as variables. One is APS. APS is machine epsilon, or floating point accuracy. And then we have I and J is the imaginary unit of a square, let's say a square root of -1. Then we have, if this is for infinity, we have int max, largest value of specified integer type. The int min is smallest value of a specified integer type. NaN or NaN small, it is not a number. For instance, 0 divided by 0 or infinity. Those are details there. Then we have the pi, we have the real max, the largest positive floating point number, and the real mean is the smallest positive floating point number. So you have to note that I and ij are commonly used for arrays and matrices and matrix indices. If you're dealing with a complex valued data, avoid redefining both I and j. Okay. For instance, if you just type APS on your screen, it should give you something like this. Yes, please. Yes.
Could you go to the previous slide, please?
Yes.
Thank you. I was just clarifying something. I thought I had seen something. Thank you.
Okay. You're welcome. So those ones you're going to try them on your own, and you'll find out the results. Okay. So you don't need to display them as, to use them as variables or redefine them as variables. Those are constants that you need to work with. But there are other constants or special words that cannot be also used as variables. These are constants on the previous slide. These are constants that you don't need to redefine. They are already in Matlab. But also, we have special keywords that cannot be used as variable names. You can't use the word break as a variable name. Case, catch, class def, continue, else, else if, and, for, function, global, if, otherwise, for, persistent, return, switch, try, while, true, false, and some others that I have not mentioned in this slide. Okay, those are keywords. So every time you try to define them as variables, Matlab will complain that you can't use this. For instance, let's just try something here. Okay, let's try an example, and they say break is assigned name. So when I press enter, it will be an error. It says break must appear in the loop in the same file as the loop command. So that means it's telling you that where you're applying break is a keyword, so you cannot use it to do anything. So if I also maybe used case, is given 1, it is still will complain because case is a keyword, so it will not understand that.
Sir,
Yes, please.
What if you want to display something like breakout class? Will it still bring it as an error, or there it accepts?
If you wanted to display something like break,
That class, yeah.
break, then
The same way you did last time when you displayed welcome to this engineering class. So what if you want to display a certain statement, but break is part of it?
okay, okay. We are going to demonstrate that, but break is used in a loop. We shall look at looping structures when we are writing a number of statements. Okay, it can be able to work in that way because it will be a keyword, and we shall demonstrate that as we go on.
Hello, may I just say something there?
Yes.
I've actually tried it and it works. I think the quotation marks make it like a statement and it displays. So it displays as break that class.
Okay, so when you put it as you tried it and it worked,
It has worked.
what statement did you run?
Break that class. It has
Break.
displayed.
Did you put it in display?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely that works. If you did you put it in quotes?
Yes, in quotes.
Yeah, in quotes it reads it. Remember, as we progress, if you put something in quotes, you're telling the Matlab compiler not to interpret that. So it will take it as a word. To not interpret, will just display that what is in there. For instance, if I displayed this, it will complain because break is a keyword. But if I put break in quotes, it will display it break because it is when it reaches a quote, it will understand that you want to display what is in quotes. Okay, so in that way it will not have issues. But if you're using break as a variable that you want to display something, it will not accept because break is taken as a keyword. Okay.
It's okay, sir.
Okay, so you try out those examples, but also Matlab works with numbers with their formats. Matlab by default uses double precision, which is a 64-bit floating point number, following the IEE floating point standard. So you may find more information on this online when you just read about representation of floating point numbers. Okay, you can get a little more information on that. So you can have x raised to this value, where you have -1 raised to s times 1 plus f times 2 raised to e to this. So this can be 1 bit assignment. This can be 52 bits because this is multiplier. Then this can be an exponential, which is about 11 bits. Okay, which will be something like this explained.
Excuse me, sir.
Which is the machine X epsilon. Yes, please.
Now, like for example, this double this this double precision that you're showing us, does it work? Because you also said clearly that there are some things that will work for MATLAB and won't work for Octave. So
Exactly.
does this work for Octave?
Okay, let's just try it out because I've not tried it out in Octave. We just need to try it out. Okay, if it will complain and says as undefined value. Okay, So that means Octave has not put in this. But if you run this in Matlab, it will be able to give you these details. But this one is complaining because Octave has limited functionalities compared to Matlab. Okay. So these are some of the integer data types that we have that are useful for us. There's 8. The integer data types have 8, 16, 32, 64, I think even up to 128 bits that are signed and unsigned them. So if you want to get more details about data types, you just need to go to your command, help, and then type data types. You just go to the command, type help, data type, data types. I think it's not enabled here. It's not enabled in this. It can't work, but you are able to get this if you're using Matlab. Okay, when we install our Matlab, we shall be able to see how that runs. So for complex numbers, you can be able to provide Matlab by default treats all numbers and expressions as complex, even if they are real. So no special declarations are needed to handle these complex number operations. For instance, Z is assigned a value of 3 plus 4i. Okay? Then maybe X is assigned a real of Z. Maybe Y is assigned a value of image of Z, so which is an imaginary number given there. Okay? So this provides an understanding of how to work with numbers and expressions as complex values. Okay, something like here you have a Cartesian x plus y equals to a polar form, which is this, and then you have a math notation of this, which is provided here. Okay, you can just try them out in your examples in your time. I'm going to send you this, and you get these examples there. So if I said Z is given a value of 3 plus 4y, it will give you Z as 3 points this plus 4 point this I. Okay, let's maybe try to test that if Octave can allow it. If I said Z given a value of 3 plus 4j, it will give us something like that. Okay, which is a floating number. So you can try out other examples in your time. But you can format your output in a way you would want it to appear. This kind of formats will affect only the display format that you will have. Internally, all computations are done with full double precision. So when you use format, by default to give 4 decimal places. If you use format short, it's the same as the default. Long takes up to 15. Short E takes 4 exponential format. This G takes exponential format or fixed. Format long E, 15 decimals, which is exponential. So these are the ways you can be able to format. your display. Okay, so you can run more about the format command and VPA and the digits that you want to work with that as you would want them to be. Okay. So we have output and input functions. I already talked about the display that helps us to output the value, and then the input helps us to capture from the keyboard. For instance, if we wanted to write something, we would say, let me just demonstrate using this. CLC, when I say display, maybe multiplying two numbers. If I close that, I would want to multiply these two numbers. I will use input let me use a variable. I say x equals to input 1, enter x, okay, that's what we're trying to do. You enter a value. So when I press enter, it will ask me to enter x. So I'll enter 6, and then I can be able also to put enter y, I'll call this y, and I enter 7. Then I can be able to say x times y, which will give us that result. Okay, so we used to input from the keyboard using the input function, and we output from the keyboard using the display. We output on the screen using the display function. Okay, so you can be able to read more about other functions like the fprint function, the sprint function, printf function, and the display, the input, and menu. So these are other functions you need to read about. Read about these functions here and learn how they work. Okay. Okay, so next class we're going to start on Saturday. We shall be starting on from looking at arrays, and we'll be able to move forward. Except there is a question, I would want to bring this class to a close at this moment. Is there a question?